quite awesome to see all of you here, and hopefully it's awesome for you all to be with us virtually. Tonight's learning is sponsored by H&M Builders and the Yisachar Zvulun sponsorship for the Refuah Shalema of Menachem Mendel ben Sarbatya and Devorah Feigal bat Rezel, and also for our friend Lisi, whose Hebrew name? Sarabat Rivka. There we go. All right.
Amen.
Hello, welcome. Bienvenidos. How are you? Great to see you. So, I'm going to do something different. We've never done this yet before, but I'm going to try to do it. If people online post questions and I've noticed them, I will try to address them. Like some people have been mentioning that, and again, as always, thank you very, very much for the feedback, the virtual feedback, the in-person feedback, the email feedback, the hate mail, all of it. I love it. Keep it coming, please. It's not a problem. So tonight, we are going to be discussing Korach, communism, and why I hate my rabbi. And I assure you, I'm very, very warranted. Very, very warranted. So first of all, if we're going to think about why it is that, I love you too, Nani, that people hate their rabbi. There's a big laundry list of reasons why people hate the rabbi. It could be, he's too Zionist, or he's not Zionist enough, he's too stringent, he's too lenient, he only likes the wealthy people, he's all about the money, he doesn't connect well with my children, he didn't visit my mother when she was sick and then she died, he was on vacation and he wasn't even at the funeral, and then for those reasons, and he's too pro this, he's too con that, whatever. There's no limit to the reasons why we, the Jewish people, hate our rabbis. And by the way, you're talking, if you hate the rabbi, that already gives you one very, very serious indication of your Judaism. You have a rabbi. Okay? So all the Jews that don't have a rabbi, the fact that they don't hate their rabbi is not impressive. You have to have a rabbi first, and then if you like him or not. So we're going to discuss a little bit of that, because we see from Korach that this is an age-old problem. It's nothing new, right? We've been hating on our rabbis for literally 3 millennia. Okay. Let us begin. The story of Korach, a very brief overview of some of the story. We can't go into all of it because unfortunately time does not permit, but we're going to get through quite a few of the juicy parts. So Korach is the first cousin of Moshe. Okay, he is Moshe's first cousin. So it's not like they had never met. They knew each other for a very, 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 very long time. Korach, in case you're wondering, means bald. We can talk about that some other time. And Korach was pissed. Why? Well, because he didn't get to be a really good position. He wanted a good position. He's got the right family for it. He's got the right temperament for it, or it didn't seem like that way, in our story. But certainly beforehand, he was very wealthy. He was incredibly brilliant. He was a monster Talmud Chacham, a huge scholar. Very popular, very well known, very important guy, very sophisticated. And yet he chooses to do something that's insane, or at least seemingly insane. So why? Well, because he was passed over for a position. And he gets upset. So what does he do? He starts a rebellion. Now here's the thing about rebellions, right? You have to get people to go with you. Like, you can't rebel on your own. If you rebel on your own, then you're the crazy dude outside the White House with an AK-47 and they shoot you. You can't do that. You have to have like a whole bunch of people with you, and then it's a coup. So you need to have the big guns. Now if you have the big guns, then people will take you seriously. So that means, like, you can't, 3 homeless guys, your fantasy football league, and the local plumbers union. That is not going to public opinion change. That won't do it. But if you get some very, very heavy hitters, some big rabbis maybe, a philosopher or two, maybe a CEO from the Forbes 500, if you can get Zuckerberg on your team, then you can make some noise. And in fact, he does that. He gets big dudes to come with him and rebel against Moshe. And the first question is, well, what kind of big Jewish dude is going to rebel against Moshe? The answer is very simple. It's so smart and it's so simple, and we see it every day. If you want to start any sort of rebellion, if you want to topple and overthrow whatever the local order happens to be, who do you start with? You start with people who have beef. They got beef. That's where you start. You come to them and you say, it's really not fair what they did to you. That's terrible. You got messed over, man. You got really messed over. You deserve more than you had. But remember, you can't go to, the poor people who have no power. So you have to go to people who themselves are powerful and well-known, but they represent a segment of the population who is upset about something, or many things. Again, not that we ever read about these things in the paper nowadays, but back then this is what happened. So who does he go to? He goes to Reuven. He goes to the firstborns. Because you see, up until the time that it got switched, the firstborns were supposed to do the service in the temple. Reuven, the very first one of the tribes, he's supposed to get the double portion, not this Joseph business. He was supposed to have it. I mean, if you want to see how sibling rivalry works, read Genesis. Read Genesis. People arguing over who's the Bechor, who's the firstborn. You have it with Cain and Abel. You have it with Isaac and Yishmael. You have it with Ephraim and Menashe. Before Ephraim and Menashe, you have it with Yaakov and Esau, even before they're born. And then you have it with the brothers and Yosef. Like the whole story of Genesis is brothers hating brothers, fighting brothers, and who's in charge and who's first. So this goes way back. So he goes to the firstborns and he says, you guys all got screwed. And you know how you got screwed? Because my cousin Moshe, he gave the priesthood to his brother. Let's think about that for a minute. Okay, Moshe, you're the king. Because for all intents and purposes, he is the king. We call him Rabbeinu instead of Reggie. I mean, it's Regina for a queen. How do you say for a king? Ray, right? Ray. We wouldn't call him Moshe Ray, Moshe King. It's Moshe Rabbeinu, our teacher, but for all intents and purposes, he's the king because what he says goes. He's the political leader. So you're the king. You made your brother into the high priest. Who are the Levites? They're your nephews. So he goes to the firstborns and he says, hey, he took everything. I'm like, yeah, he took everything. And they walk up and they declare a problem. They say, Moshe, we got a nepotism issue. Nepotism issue. You're stealing all the goodness for you. So what does Moshe do? Moshe looks at Korach and he says, do you know who I am? Do you know who I am? I'm Moshe. Do you see what happened to the last guy that messed with me? The little 4-foot Egyptian in the golden suit? Did you see what I did to him? By the way, I grew up in his house. He's my grandfather. You're my cousin. I don't even like you. I'm kidding. He didn't say that. He fell on his face. He fell on his face. He was so shocked and so hurt. Falls on the face. Okay. So Moshe says, you know what? Tomorrow, we're going to have a God contest. It's a great contest. Here's how it works. You want to be the leader. I am the leader. I say God chose me. You said I made it up. No problem. Mañana, we'll get together and God will choose. What kind of an idiot would enter into a God contest with Moshe? Like, it begs the question. It's like you're going to play an astrophysics game with Stephen Hawking. Like, no, of course not. You're going to have a singing contest with him. Right? You got to be, okay, fine, whatever. The questions abound. But okay, they say yes, they agree. And that night, Moshe reaches out to the enemies, to his political enemies. He says, guys, come on, let's talk it out. Why do we have to fight like this? Come over. And they say, no. This is Dasan and Aviram, who are his two biggest enemies for literally 40 years already. Before the 40 years in the desert. They've been enemies for 40 years. Before that, since he was a kid in Egypt, he had to escape Egypt because of these guys. He saved them, and then they've been coming to get him literally ever since. And you know what they say when he says, hey guys, come on, let's talk it out. Let's hug it out. You know what they say? It's unbelievably telling. You can learn so much about politics from the way they respond. They say, we will not go up. We will not see you. Even if you poke our eyes out, we're not going to go up. Poke your eyes out. Who said anything about poke your eyes out? What kind of a ridiculous thing is that to say? I invited you for tea. I said, hey, would you like to come to my house and discuss these political issues that we seem to be having? And their response is, even if you poke our eyes out, we're not going to go. Why would you say something like that?
That's in the parasha.
Yeah. Why? The answer is so sublime. Because if you're fighting with somebody and you want other people to hop onto your bandwagon, how do you need to portray that person? He's an aggressor. He's an abuser of power. But no one around has seen Moshe abusing power. That's not a problem. All you gotta do is say it. I'm not gonna go, even if you drag me out of here bloody and you poke my eyes out. I was like, oh my God, did you hear? Moshe was trying to drag Dasan and Aviram up. They were gonna poke their eyes out. You take a stand against the straw man. There's no one there. They're very savvy. And what do they do that night? They go around to the Jews, and they start rousing rabble. And here's what they say. It's unbelievable. My uncle, my Rebbe, tells us over much better than I ever could, but it's a midrash. And the midrash tells the following story. They walk along to all the pubs and they see the people. They say, I want to tell you a story about this old lady. There's this great lady. She's a widow. Her husband died. She's got 2 daughters that she has to marry off. And all she has left, she was never in the business. She has a field. So she figures, hey, I got to marry off my kids, and that's expensive. So time to start working the field. All she has is one field and an ox and a donkey. So she puts the yoke on the ox and the donkey, and she starts threshing the field, and all of a sudden, code inspection. What's going on? What's the problem? Well, don't you know that you're not allowed to thresh with different types of animals? That's not going to work. And she says, I'm sorry, Rabbi, but I only have one ox. He says, that's not a problem. You can take the other side. And there she is, the old lady, moving it with the ox. And finally, after all the work that she does, things start to grow, and she takes it into the house. She's going to make a big party, and all of a sudden, code enforcement. What's the problem? Well, Mrs. Schwartz, don't you know you have to have the corner of your field for the pork? For the payah? And what about the leket? And what about the olalut? And she's like, oh my goodness gracious, I had no idea. Okay, fine. You know what instead? I'll do that. I'll have just this little bit. Wait, 1 second. Did you take off the tithes for the Kohen and for the Levi? Wow, this is really complicated. You know what? Forget the whole field thing. I'm going to sell the field, and I'm going to buy animals. I'm just going to have, sheep. So you buy sheep. The sheep, it's time to shear the sheep. Code enforcement. First shearing, Reshit Hagez. That goes, where do you think it goes? To the Kohen. She's, oh my goodness gracious. The sheep has a baby. She's like, oh, my first baby sheep. Code enforcement. First sheep goes to the Kohen. You know what? I'm sick of this, the old lady says. I'm just going to eat the things. Code enforcement. Zroa, Lechayayim, Keva, all of the things that go to the priests. And this is what Korach is walking around telling everybody. And by the way, who's the priest? It's his brother! Get all the money, they're sucking everything out. You think it's effective? Oh, it's very effective. It's very effective. It's effective today, it's effective then, and it seems like he's got a really good point. Right? Who are you fooling? It seems like he's got a really good point. Okay, we're going to have to deal with it. So, Moshe is very hurt. He's very, very hurt. And he says to God, he says, Al Teifen El Menchatam. Do not listen to their prayers. These guys were big Jews, right? They were praying too. It's not like Moshe was staying up all night praying and these people were sitting around drinking and playing cards. No, they looked indistinguishable from Moshe. The people couldn't tell the difference. The people could not tell the difference. You know how you know that? If I would have told you, if you didn't know this story, if you walk into a third grade who's been learning about the relationship between Moshe and Aaron and Miriam in the desert, and you would say, what would happen if someone came up to Moshe and said, Moshe, you're not going to be the leader anymore? What would the third grader say? No, they would never allow that. They would throw them in jail. That's the intuitive thing. So why didn't that happen? Where were all the other Jews? The answer is they were standing watching like this. I don't see me. Well, why? Because they couldn't tell the difference. They couldn't tell the difference between Moshe and Korach. They didn't know who to choose.
But they saw Moshe come with the...
That's true. Oh, so what did Korach say? What was Korach's words? He says, All of the congregation is holy and God is within us. Why do you make yourselves bigger than the entire congregation of God? We're all holy. He had this great populist message, by the way. We'll talk about the message soon. So Moshe is really hurt, and he says, don't listen to their prayers. I have never taken a donkey from any of them. And I've never harmed any of them. Even these guys, this Dasan and Aviram, who have hated me for years. What do you mean I never took a donkey? So Rashi explains, he goes, you know what? When you sent me, I was living in Midian. Hey man, things were good in Midian. Do you know how many Jews Moshe had to worry about in Midian? None. It was the great, when people ask you, you're a rabbi, where's your flock? Moshe's flock in Midian was a flock. It was sheep. Sheep don't talk back to you. Every once in a while they run away, you have to chase them and you find a burning bush. But for the most part, they're docile. They're very unlike congregants. Jews drive you crazy. Sheep are wonderful. When Moshe was in Midian and God said go, and Moshe's like, I don't want to go, but God forces him to go, he could send a bill to the Jews. Right? The Jews had money. I read it on the protocols of the Elders of Zion. He could have sent a bill and say, hey, it's transportation. I have to take my plane. Forget my private plane. I'm going to fly coach. But you got to pay for the flight from Midian to Egypt. No. I took my donkey and I paid my own hotel bill. That's what Moshe is saying. I don't know why this is like such a big deal for leadership. That's wonderful. You can pay your own way, or you could be, our current president maybe pays his own way. That doesn't make you a good leader. So I don't know why that exactly is what Moshe is, pushing. But okay. And in the morning, what happens? They all get together. And here's what Moshe says. He says the most insane thing. Like, if you don't think this is insane, it's because you've been conditioned to accept it. But if you think about it, this is like for the first time from the outside, it's crazy. He addresses the entire Jewish people there, and he says, here's the dealio. Here's the deal. If these people, these Korachites, if they all die, God didn't send me. If they die right now, if they drop down dead, if they're hit by lightning, if they spontaneously combust, God didn't send me, I'm a liar. But, if God makes a new creation, and the earth swallows them all up into hell, that's what it says, She'olah. If that happens, then God sent me and I didn't come up with this. That's a really bizarre thing to say. I mean, you have to, that's crazy. Like, why isn't it good enough for them to all get hit by lightning? I would think that is also equally effective, right? I mean, maybe there's like more of a mess, because if the ground swallowed them up, you don't have as much bodies, I guess, I don't know. But like, it's just weird. And then when he finishes saying this, what happens? The earth, I don't know if it sounds like that, but the earth, it starts to swallow the people. So before Moshe says, separate from these people, get away from these people, you got to choose them or me. Choose them or me. Some people move, I suppose some people didn't, and they got swallowed up by the earth, living hell. Which, if you think about it, it's unbelievable. He's saying, Moshe is saying in front of everybody, these people, you need to witness them with your eyes descending into hell alive. Why? That's crazy. Well, think about it. What do all prophets talk about? Prophets, yes, prophets. Well, they say, when you die, if you don't accept so-and-so, it doesn't matter who the so-and-so is, there's all sorts of so-and-sos. If you don't accept so-and-so, then when you die, you're going to burn in hell forever. But if you do, then you will have paradise forever, and send me through this, and whatever it happens to be that you're going to get. It's all, you notice they have something in common. The in common thing that they have is when you're dead. So is he in hell or not? Well, I don't know. It probably depends. So you ask. That wasn't enough for Moshe. Moshe is saying, if all of you do not see with your eyes that they are falling into hell alive in this world, then God didn't send them. So he's making like a pretty emphatic message. Okay, I think we can agree on that. He's making a very strong message for some reason. And I don't think this is necessarily the way to solve political discourse. I mean, this is like right out of the playbook of Kim Jong-un. It's just weird. It's weird. So why is he going so far? Like, why is Moshe doing that? I'm going to try to understand this, and if we have time, maybe even understand a few other things as well. To begin, there are two sayings of Chazal, of our rabbis that I would like to read to you, and hopefully we can try and get a little bit of a deeper understanding. Number one, it says in the Mishnah Avot, in Chapters of Our Fathers, that there are two types of arguments, two types of machloket. Machloket is an argument, debate, disagreement. There is a machloket, l'shem shamayim, for the sake of heaven, literally for the name of heaven. And then there is a machloket, shelo l'shem shamayim, not for the sake of heaven. And it says any argument, any disagreement that is for the sake of heaven, l'shem shamayim. Let's try to familiarize ourselves with the terminology, because I may lapse into it just, because of the chemistry. Any argument that is l'shem shamayim will last forever. And who's that like? Well, that's like Hillel and Shammai. Hillel and Shammai, the great rabbis of the Tanakh era, about 100 years before the destruction of the Second Temple, so you're looking at about 30 before the Common Era-ish, Hillel and Shammai would argue all the time, but they loved each other, and like they would marry each other's daughters, and, I mean, not only them, like their houses, right, okay? And they loved each other, but they would argue all the time. That was an argument, l'shem shamayim. And then, says the Mishnah, what is an argument not l'shem shamayim? Korach va'adaso. Korach and his gang. They were not l'shem shamayim. And that's bad. Okay, pretty straightforward. I have a few problems with this. Number one, there's a lack of symmetry in the verbiage. Because if you recall, there are two examples. An argument that is l'shem shamayim and an argument that is not. The argument that is, we said, is Hillel and Shammai. The argument that is not is Korach and his gang. What should it say?
Korach and Moshe.
Korach and Moshe. Exactly, Korach and Moshe. What do you mean Korach and his group? They were on one side. You're supposed to go both sides, A and B, not A and his followers. It's a weird way of putting it, but I can get over that. That's fine. We'll live with that. A more fundamental question. This is my favorite. Tell me something. Have you ever seen an argument that wasn't L'Shem Shamayim? Have you ever seen... Let me give you a few examples of fights that were L'Shem Shamayim. The Crusades, the Inquisition, the last time that people occupied one of the colleges because of microaggressions, I don't know, Khmelniki, pogroms, people blowing other people up in the streets, stabbings, putting bombs in hospitals and kindergartens. What do they all have in common? They're all for God. They're all L'Shem Shamayim, for the sake of heaven. More people have been killed, L'Shem Shamayim, than any other name. There's just no question. By the way, that doesn't reflect on God whatsoever. That reflects on people and the excuses and the reasonings that they use. That's irrelevant. It's not here nor there. But the point is, saying that there's that arguments that are for the sake of heaven will endure. They're all L'Shem Shamayim. Just ask. Just ask the guy that killed that border patrol lady. Just go ask him. Did you do this for you, or did you do this for heaven? I did it for heaven. In fact, I screamed it before I stabbed her. So it doesn't seem to really give us very much. Number one. Number two, how are you supposed to be able to identify when exactly an argument is for the sake of heaven or not? You use your magic lie detector test. You look at them with your magic Jew antennae, beep, 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 and then you know. Thanks, Gus, I love you too. It doesn't make sense. You can't know that. So if you can't know that, then that seems that the Mishnah is not doing anything for you. It's not giving you any piece of information that you can execute with. It doesn't help you. Then there's another issue. You're telling me there are two types of arguments. Once again, there are two types of arguments. I would like to share as a married, with 4 children, Jew, American, libertarian, Brady fan, don't kill me. I can think of much more than 2 ways to argue. Much more. Not to mention teacher. Plenty to argue about. Plenty to argue. It's only 2 things to argue. So the Supreme Court brief and your argument with your girlfriend about whether or not you're going to go to Stifler's party after prom, those are the same? Just fails to compute. That's odd. Okay. So that is the first rabbinic writing that I want to analyze today. The second one is a very simple statement and a horrible statement. It says, Gedola hamachloket. Great. Great doesn't mean good or positive. Great means large and terrible. Is the fighting. Why? Why is machloket so bad? Why is it so great, so powerful? Because, let's say one person murders someone. Well, if he has reached the age of majority, we kill him. There's a capital punishment in Judaism, right? Judaism is not exactly a squeamish religion, contrary to certain belief. Kill him. That's one guy. And if, so he has to be 13, if he's 8 and he kills somebody, we're not going to kill him, he's a minor. He's a minor. And if someone is going to get karet, death by heaven, he has to be 20. But says the rabbis, machloket, when it comes to fighting, even babies die. How do you know? From Korach. Because all of the kids, I mean, actually not all of Korach's kids died because some of them were on the good side, but many of them did. There were children that were in that group, that were swallowed in the earth, that died in the most terrifying way possible. Again, listen to the words. Listen to the words. The words are, you're going to see them go down, descend into hell alive. I don't know what that looks like. I've heard lots of theories. I have no idea if any of them, all of them, or some of them are true. I don't know. What I do know is that it's harrowing. It's clearly terrifying. Whatever it is, it's harrowing. And it happened to babies. And therefore, you see that the power of machloket is so bad that even babies die. Now that sounds like a nice statement until you analyze it for about a moment. How do we know that machloket kills babies? Because they died with Korach. How do you know that speaks to argument? Maybe the lesson of that is, don't mess with Moses. Why isn't that the reason? If I was reading it, if I told you, or if I saw a guy opposing Moshe, cousin Korach opposes Moshe in a coup, and Moshe's like, yo, you're in deep kimchi, and they all die, and I'm like, oh, well, fighting is bad. That's the conclusion that you would draw? That fighting is bad? No way you would draw that. That's an unreasonable conclusion, right? Occam's razor, they died because they messed with magic man. That's what I would think anyway, I don't know. So weird. So in order to discover what I think is going on here, like beneath the surface, I would like to discuss what at least as far as I know, or what I see, what I feel is the worst horrific period in world history. Not for Jews, forget the Holocaust for a moment, I don't want to get Jewy about this, but World War I. World War I. If you read a little bit about what it was like to live in a trench, you can't understand. You're reading the words, but it does not compute. So these kids, 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, were shipped off to live, for the rest of their days, most of them, or many, in a trench, 300 yards away from a guy. You know why they dig trenches? Because for the first time in the world, the weapons had gotten so sophisticated that if you walk, you will be exploded into 1,000 pieces. And shrapnel is a lot worse than a bullet, ask anybody. So they had to dig themselves in a ditch and sit in a hole until someone blew a whistle and they had to run. Horrific. They didn't have food, they didn't have water, they didn't have conditions, there was disease. In fact, they relay a story, unbelievable story, and it makes you think about the Korach thing. On the way to the trench, they had to walk over the ground. Do you know what the ground of Belgium looked like? Forget the rain. The blood of hundreds of thousands of people. Hundreds of thousands on one field. Not to mention the fact that these machines of war had destroyed the earth. So there was mud. When I say mud that you could not walk in. How are you going to get to the front? You can't walk. If you walk, you get stuck. You will not be able to get out. So they took boards, massive boards, and they had just boards and boards and boards and boards and boards all the way to the front. And this guy relates, this British soldier, how he was walking, and a friend of his that was in the platoon fell off the board. Just stepped off a little bit on the board and fell into the mud. No big deal, right? Pull him out. They couldn't. They couldn't pull him out. The more they pulled, the further they got stuck. They got stuck in the earth. Stuck in the earth. He said how pitiful it was. The guy begging, and everyone just walking. Just walking. Later on, after the battle, which he survived, he went back, he saw him again. The guy was still in the earth, but there was no guy. Horrible, horrible, horrible. So here you have a British soldier, a Russian soldier, a French soldier, a Belgian soldier, and they're sitting there in their trench, and they're praying to their God. And they're saying, oh my God, make it stop, make it stop, make it stop, make it stop, make it stop. And 300 yards that way, there's a German soldier sitting in his trench, praying to his God, make it stop, make it stop, make it stop, make it stop. And God is looking and saying, what do you want from me? Stop. Stop. Like, did God tell you? Did God tell you you had to fight? You're blaming this on God. You're going to blame the fact that you're shooting shrapnel and destroying the entire world on God. You're going to blame that on him. If you want to stop, stop. Now, why are we discussing this? I'll tell you what. Because it says, the rabbis say there's only two types of arguments. I suggest they're right. There are only two types of arguments. There are infinite number of situations for arguments, but there are only two types of arguments. Either you are arguing because you want to find the truth, or not. That's it. Only two. Let's look how this works. If you are arguing to find the truth, it's what we call the Shem Shamayim, for the sake of heaven. I want to know the truth. You want to know the truth. Our goal is the same in the pursuit of truth. Are you my enemy? No. Why would I kill you? Why would I not like you? We're on the same team trying to find truth. However, if you're not for truth, then what are you for? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It could be for ego, it could be for jealousy, it could be for money, it could be for love, it could be for social reasons, it could be for, oh my goodness gracious, who knows all the idiosyncratic neuroses that fly in people's heads. It could be for any number of reasons. Doesn't matter. If it's not for the truth, it's for an agenda. And if it's for an agenda, you know where it leads? Dead babies. Dead babies. I said, well, that's not true, because I've had many arguments that did not result in dead babies. That's wonderful, but just consider this for a moment. You understand that it's a question of a graph. They're all along the same line. So, for example, you have, China claims certain territorial waters in the South China Sea. America does not agree with that claim. Neither does Vietnam, neither does South Korea, neither does Japan. Not ironically, because they're allies. But they dispute those territorial claims. They're not at war currently. But they have militarized their islands, and America is sailing aircraft carriers through that corridor. Why? Because they're showing that we disagree with your claim on this land. You don't have that land. But they're not shooting at each other yet. Then you have places like India and Pakistan, who both have nuclear weapons because of the land dispute they have with the other guy. They're not fighting now, Baruch Hashem. And then you have Jews and Arabs who are fighting, blowing each other up in the streets. It's a difference of degree. It's a difference of degree. It's not a difference of substance. The argument is the same. It's mine. No, it's mine. Okay, so there are people that say it's mine, who fight. And there are people who say it's mine and mine or mine who don't fight. And some who stab people in the street. But tell me, what would happen if people sat down and said, well, who does it really belong to? Why don't we think about that? How about we sit down and we think about what the truth is about who should be here? Maybe it's neither. Maybe it's not the Jews or the Arabs, it should be the Turks back in, or maybe the British. Maybe the Canaanites. I don't know. But no one's thinking like that. If you ask the Jew and the Arab, the Jew says, what do you mean? The truth is, it's mine. And the Arab says, what do you mean? The truth is, it's mine. If you already know the truth, you're not searching for it. Now, I'm not saying, by the way, that it would be easy, because the first thing you would have to understand is how we determine the truth. You would have to agree on some sort of context that both of you would accept. I understand that. It's not easy. But the point is, you'll never get there because you're not trying to do what you have to do in order to get there. No one cares about the truth. They just want to win. If you just want to win, that's Lo L'Shem Shemayim. Dead babies. If you're out for the truth, it's like, it doesn't make any sense that anybody would die. Why would anybody die? Now, how do I know what I'm looking at? How do I, the observer from the outside, I see these two people arguing, and I don't know if they're Lo L'Shem Shemayim or not. How am I supposed to know? How would I know? It's amazing, because the Mishnah already told you. How do we know that Hillel and Shammai, two rabbis who argue about everything, how do we know they were L'Shem Shemayim? Very simple, because they married each other's kids. They thought the other ones were nuts, right? Listen, man, I'm Hillel, he's Shammai, he's crazy, he's wrong, I told him 1,000 times. This is the Jewish law, this is the halakha, this is the pshat, this is the explanation of the verse, and he disagrees, and he's wrong, but I love him like a brother. Come here, let me give you a kiss. Why would I hate him? Because he's wrong. I don't hate him because he's wrong. I wouldn't even hate him if I think, if he's wrong. You can also say that they're both right in legal truth. Different story for a different day. But the point is, if you love and respect the person who holds a different political view than you, that's L'Shem Shemayim. If, on the other hand, you hate him, what's it about? Is it about the truth? Or not so much? I think not so much. Well, so how did Korach do it? How did he manage to do it? To get so successful with these people? He goes over to everybody. Like, imagine, again, the Jews, they're not stupid. We're known for many things. We're too rich, we're too poor, we're too communist, we're too capitalist, we're too much in Hollywood, we're too much. It doesn't matter. But one thing they don't say? They don't say, oh, those Jews, they're so stupid. Okay? That's not what they say. So let's pretend for a moment that they're right about us, and the Jews aren't completely out of their minds, and here's this Korach guy, and he's trying to get me to go away from Moses. And I say, come on, why would I go get Moses? He's the magic man. He's been doing all these great things. And besides, if you win, Korach, if you win, how does that help me? If you win, that means Moshe's gone, and now you're Moshe. How does that help me at all? How does Korach get people to follow him if the people themselves know that it's not going to make a shred of difference in their lives? Well, the answer is he's not an idiot, right? So he says, no, silly. We're all going to be rich when I'm in charge. Really? All of us? Tell me more. How are you going to create a situation where everybody's lifestyle goes up when you win all of a sudden? The firstborns. You see, under Moshe's system, who gets to serve in the temple? Only Levites. Only Leviim. Kohanes and Levites.
They're both Levites. Aaron's family.
Right. The Leviim also serve. They serve in a different way than the Kohen, in a different capacity, but they're still serving. They're doing avodah in the Mishkan. It's a lower level of avodah, but yeah, it's still avodah. So it's only his tribe. But what is Korach pushing? What is Korach suggesting? Everybody can do service in the temple. Everyone's a priest. Why just him? Everyone. And maybe if not everyone, at least one representative from every family, the eldest of the family. He will go. By the way, this isn't just I got to sing Yigdal in the shul. That's not what it is. It's not a stupid little thing. There's money here. We said it before. There are things that go alongside the service in the temple. By the way, it's also political clout. It was a major center of Jewish power, the temple was, for many, many years. So he's offering everyone that. He goes, yeah, so Korach, I'll be Korach the king, or Korach the high priest, but you will all be Kohens too, and you're not going to get that under cousin Mo. And that worked. And that worked. And they'd be like, wow. So what does he say? Kol ha'ida kulam kadoshim. We're all holy. Why do we need you? What a great message. What a wonderful populist message. Why is he wrong? It sounds like a great idea. There's only one little problem, small, tiny problem that we discussed a few months ago. What happened the last time the firstborns did the service? Metal cow. Egel hazav, a golden calf. The last time the firstborns did the service, they made an idol. Why? Because that's what Jews do. That's what Jews do. They force their ideas into reality. Levites don't do that. As we said, Levi has no agenda. Levi has no land. Levi doesn't get to participate. What's it say? There won't be money or political clout if everyone gets to do it. No, there would be. You would just get a smaller piece, obviously. You would get your, my cousin Nani is asking, but if there won't be money or political clout, if everybody gets it, if everyone gets to do it, there won't be as much money. That's true, it'll be less, but for those few weeks, it would be pretty good. I mean, you get some really awesome steak for the year when you went and got your little, your little piece of the pie. That's true, it wouldn't be as big, obviously. It would be smaller, but it would be something. So, Korach's vision is horrifically flawed. Horrifically flawed. But what does he say? Everyone's a priest, everyone serves. What does it sound like to you? What kind of a system? Everyone's the same. There's no difference. We're all the proletariat. Those people, they just want to take advantage of you. They just want to take your money. They're robbing you. It's the rich. It's the Jews. They're robbing you. How do you think Khmelnytsky got them to massacre 300,000 men, women, and children? They said that the Polacks are your landlords, you are their slaves, and the Jews are their messengers, their slave messengers. And they went and they slaughtered and they killed people. Because people believe that sort of thing. It works. Goodness gracious, does it work. It's a wonderful political system. Everybody gets to pick. You know what an excellent political system looks like in this country? In the beginning, we had one. I want to tell you a story about Jefferson and Adams. Now, it happens to be Thomas Jefferson and John Adams were both presidents. They were both presidents. They were bitterly opposed politically. I want to read you towards the end of their lives. So Adams writes to Jefferson, "You and I ought not to die before we have explained ourselves to each other," because they still respected each other. So they started going back and forth in letters. And they were lamenting about the country's future, noting the growing divide between the slave-owning South and the commerce-minded North. This is what Adams writes in 1825. "I look back with rapture on those golden days when Virginia and Massachusetts lived and acted together like a band of brothers." This is a guy that he doesn't agree with. Doesn't matter. I love him because we're both going for the same thing. We want to build a beautiful country, we're on the same team. So yeah, I think I favor this kind of look at the Constitution, he favors that kind of a view of the Constitution. But we're both being duped. So in our system, it's unbelievable. How does our system work? It's literally the opposite of this. I send people to Washington for what reason? My agenda. Stated like that. People are proud of this. They say, I am voting for the guy that's going to protect my interests. Wonderful. That's great. Good for you. It's one of the major problems of democracy. Major problem. One person, one vote. Really? Because you're a person? So you have as much to say as everyone else? Yes. And he's going to go there and he's going to obstruct the other party, whomever the other party is. Doesn't matter. They both do it to the other guy. You are ad initio, lechatchila, sending a guy to fight for what benefits you, not the country. So you vote yourself money out of the treasury, you're $20 trillion in debt, you're kicking the can down the road on Social Security. This is what happens. Because we're not looking for truth. We're not looking for it. So how do the people on the right feel about the people on the left, and how do the people on the left feel about the people on the right? Listen to them speak. We saw it last week. Oh, and again, I don't want anyone to think for a second that this is more prevalent on one side. It might be, but I certainly don't know that it is, and I know that there are plenty on each side. You have people justifying violence based upon someone's political views. And not only that, but the way that we debate is, you are a X and therefore you're bad. But what about the view? What about what I think? What about my opinion? What about the platform? That doesn't matter. You're a Democrat. You're a Republican. You're a socialist. It's crazy. It's crazy. We know where that ends. We know where it ends. Because it ends the same way every time. It ends in a war. It has to. It has to, because eventually, somebody's getting into the space of the other guy. It's a massive problem. So, if you're not going to say, well, then everybody gets a vote, you're going to have specific people running the show, what would those people look like? Oh, gee, I don't know. It would probably be people that can't derive any benefit from the government whatsoever. Because the second you can derive benefit from the government, you are going to become corrupt. And your capital city will look like a cesspool of extortion. And it does. It does. Well, guess what? The Levites can't own land. They're not allowed. Why? Because they can't have an agenda. That's why they're the ones doing it. They're totally separate. So what does Moshe say? How do you make a government like that function? What does he say to God on the night before, when he's so hurt that people would say such terrible things about it, such inconceivable, I'm going to poke at your eyes, I've been fighting you in my home, I'm trying to make peace. What does he say? He says, Et chamor mi nasati, whose donkey did I ever take? What dollar had I taken from this nation? Let the man stand and say, Moshe, you owe me $1, and I'll give him back the $1. That's why he's saying that. He's not saying, I took them out of Egypt, and I don't sleep at night, and I only care about them, and I make myself sick over them. That's not what he says. This is an issue of government. It's about being above reproach. He says, let the man stand who says that I've taken $1. Let him show. Let him show. If you trusted your government, if you thought that they didn't benefit off you, but you thought that they were doing what they actually thought was best, then theoretically, you could have a cadre of people whose business it is to run things properly without specific agendas, which is obviously the only way that you can do it, but it is what it is, unfortunately. Now, I would like to get a little bit deeper into the mistake of Korach's vision. Not his motive. We've already determined that his motive is nefarious. It's nefarious. Let's talk about his vision for a second, because it's terrible. Korach says, we're all the same. All the Jews are holy. We don't need Kohens. We don't need Levites. We don't need, what are all these differentiations for? What's all this identity politics? Why can't we all be friends? Friends we can be. Friends we can be. The same we can't be. I'm going to tell you why. I didn't know if I wanted to go down this particular rabbit hole, but we're going to. We're going to. In my humble opinion, I believe firmly, strongly, that the most difficult question that has been beating the crud out of human beings, not today and not yesterday, but forever, for thousands of years, this is the question that's been beating up human beings. Why am I here? Why am I here? I don't get it. Why do I exist? Am I a cosmic accident? Do I have a purpose? If I have a purpose, what's my purpose? How do I find my purpose? This question, I believe, is so haunting and so intimidating and so threatening that we spend our entire lives avoiding it. In fact, it's amazing. It boggles the mind how good our society has become of programming 100% of your life experiences. So from morning till evening, it's not like we have to spend a lot of time out in the fields getting our food. So we've caught up with ourselves. We can now occupy 100% of our time without ever doing anything. Society tells you what you are supposed to do, what you're not supposed to do, and what you're supposed to want to do. Society teaches you what to desire and what not to desire. And don't think I'm wrong, because come on, look at the beauty standards and how they shift. Society tells you what to desire. They rape the mind. Why? Why? Well, because otherwise, what are we going to do? We're going to have people, can you imagine if every baby that came out of its mother had to figure out from the beginning, why am I here? That means you have to you have to actually process things as elementary as why am I wearing pants? Why should I wear pants? And when someone says, well, because it makes people uncomfortable if you don't wear pants, you would say, why does it make them uncomfortable? And why should I not wear pants just because it makes you uncomfortable? And you can question things as fundamental as, why are there 7 days in a week? Who said? No, seriously, who said? I understand the whole 24 hours a day thing, that's objectively true. But by what metric are you measuring 7 days in a week? It's absurd. It's absurd. So we spend our entire lives under this whole idea that these things are static, and we're all essentially the same. We're all supposed to be going for the exact same thing in life. Some are better at it, some are less good at it. How do we do that? We have to find a common denominator. See, if you're going to determine human purpose, you have to be able to measure it. You need something. We mentioned before, you need something static that everyone can agree on. You need a lowest common denominator. What's the lowest common denominator of the human experience? Money. Money. What's money? Money is, I grow eggs, right? I have chickens and I have eggs. And you put on a dance troupe. That's what you do. How many eggs per dance? How many dances per egg? How do I know how to value anything? How do I know how to evaluate my life? The answer is money. Money is the equalizer. Money is the equalizer. Money is the way that we can keep score and we can keep track. And I can measure my success or my lack of success. How much money did I make? It's a wonderful system. It's a wonderful system. It's a completely arbitrary system because the money's only worth it if we say it is. But it works. It's the great equalizer. See, if you don't have that, if you don't have an equalizer, you're really stuck. Why am I here? What's my purpose? What am I here to do? But see, the Jews in the desert, they had that. They had matot. They had family structure. Each tribe had a purpose. Every single individual had a specific purpose that he or she is there to do. And they're not the same, but they're glorious. Yes, there are Kohanes and Levis and Yisraels and men and females. And there's a Kohen Gadol and there's a Nazarite and there's a Mitzorah. Everybody has a thing. Everyone has a thing. What does Korach do? Korach walks in and he says, Kol Aida Kulam Kedoshim. What do we need this for? What do we need separations and delineations? You know what he did in one fell swoop? You're now everyone else. You're the same as everyone else. What a horrific thing to do. What a horrible, horrible. It's a crime. It's a crime to do that to people. You take away. Terrible. One last thought, and with this I will end. When we talk about why I hate the rabbi, we said all those reasons, right? Didn't visit mom, only cares about the wealthy, doesn't connect with my kids, way too stringent, way too lenient, not Zionist, too Zionist, I don't like his hat, he doesn't wear a hat, he wears a hat, it's the wrong hat, it's the wrong color hat, it's the wrong size hat, it's the wrong pinch in the hat, whatever it is, right? As we said before, he embarrassed me in shul because he shushed me in front of my friends. I've heard it all. You know what they all have in common? Me. They all have me in common. He didn't visit my mother. He didn't give enough patronage to my family. He shushed me. He gave a stringent answer to me. It's all me. What does that have to do with the rabbi? Is the rabbi your masseuse? He's your masseuse, you call him over for a foot massage and he gives you a foot massage and you're like, you did a terrible job on that foot massage. The rabbi's not a foot massager. That's not what he's there for. A rabbi is a lawyer. That's it. He took a test on Jewish law. That is his function. Now, if you want to have a rabbi who's also an excellent juggler, sababa, that's fine. You may do that. You may do that. That's wonderful. But please, do not project the things that, I'm talking to me too, because we all do this. Project the things that you want on the rabbi, and if he does not do the things that I want him to do, or does the things that I don't want him to, he's terrible. It's not about you. What's all this you? Get out of it. So what it says, we had a problem with the lack of symmetry. It was an asymmetrical verbiage. That it says two types of arguments, l'shem shamayim and not l'shem shamayim. L'shem shamayim, Hillel and Shammai. Not l'shem shamayim, Korach and his crew. Why not Korach and Moshe? The argument had nothing to do with Moshe. Moshe wasn't even a part of the argument. Why do you think he fell on his face in the beginning? Why didn't he just debate with them? Why didn't he say anything to them? There's nothing to say. There's nothing to say. These people have an agenda. They want something. They don't want to talk. They don't want to hear. I'm not a part of this argument. I'm a phantom. In fact, he even uses those words to them. He says, "V'Aaron mahu ki talinu alav." This is between you and God. What are you dragging Aaron in for? What are you dragging my brother in? My brother never did anything to anybody. You're pretending that it's about Aaron? It's not about Aaron. This is you and God. Those are the two types of fights. I hope, because it's not always that you can get such a practical, in our times, understanding of something that's so very relevant in the political discourse, not just in this country, but worldwide, and especially now that we have social media, and that you're able to argue with people in Qatar. You can do that. You can send terrible things all over the interweb if you want to. Now is the time that we have to actually listen to what the other people are saying. Understand the other side. Listen to them. Listen to them. I can't speak for the Arabs, obviously, because I am not one, but I can tell you that oftentimes I see that if a Jew goes to read, to hear, to listen, to understand what the other side thinks, terrible guy, he's a traitor. Why? What are you worried about? That he's listening? What are you worried about? That he might think the truth is over there? Well, if the truth is over there, why aren't you worried that you're over here? Find the truth. Ask the questions. Deal with the issues. Don't be afraid of information. What are you afraid of? Engage with the other guy on the other side of the aisle. Be like Jefferson and Adams. Those were the good guys. Peace and love.